morning, Chairperson.
We are going to proceed this morning. Good morning, Ms. Gigaba.
Good morning, Chair.
We are going to proceed this morning, but before we do, I want to start with Mr. Gigaba's application for leave to cross-examine Ms. Gigaba. His legal team, are they here, Mr. Maybeck?
Mr. Gigaba's legal team is not here. There is a link established with Mr. Solomon.
Yes.
Apparently that has been done, but he hasn't been linked up.
Yeah. Well, I hope they are listening. Maybe what we should do is, let me not start with it. If they are listening when Ms. Gigaba finishes, hopefully they'll be here.
Yes, I understand from Mr. Solomon that Mr. Gigaba is due to arrive at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
And I think that Mr. Solomon would be available, and perhaps we can then formally link up with him then, if that suits you.
Yeah.
Joe.
Okay, let me leave it. I'll defer it until later on.
Thank you.
All right, let's continue. Ms. Gigaba, the oath you took yesterday will continue to apply this morning. Okay, all right, let's continue.
Thank you. Ms. Gigaba, we were going through the schedule, and we'd got up to page 30. And I was dealing with paragraph 55. You might remember that just before that, I had dealt with the ENCA interview, which Mr. Gigaba refers to at paragraph 111 and 112. You'll remember that a glitch arose because you didn't have the bundle of documents with the transcript of the ENCA interview in it.
Yes.
We now have that. It's that small file. We refer to it as SEQ 18/2021. Could I ask you please to go right towards the back and to page what's numbered in red numbering 70. It's about 2 or 3 pages from the end of that bundle. At the end, are you at page 70?
No.
So the pagination,
70 is 70.
pagination is at the top in red, and I'm referring to the last numbers.
Okay, sure.
It will be written SEQ 18/2021-070.
Okay. Okay, I found it.
Now, I read to you, I just ask you to confirm this. If you count 5 lines up from the bottom, on the right-hand side, there's a sentence starting, although I was. Do you see there? Ms. Gigaba?
Yes.
5 lines from the bottom, there's a sentence starting, although I was not there. You see that?
I'm still looking for it.
All right. Well, do you see the figure 850 in the middle of that paragraph?
Yes.
Okay. You go 1 line below that, and on the right-hand side of that, do you see there's a sentence starting, although?
Yes, I see.
Right. although I was not there when they give the money, but I will see him when we leave, because every time when we go there, he used to carry a bag and they will give him money. And when we get home, he will take the money and put it in the safe and pack it. So yes, it was there. He is the one who will answer better for what it was for, because I was not there when it was given.
Yes, I see
Do you
that.
confirm that that is what you said?
Yes.
Could I then return, please, to the schedule? Now, in paragraph 55, you gave evidence about the fact that Mr. Gigaba paid for suits in cash. And what he says at paragraph 115, is that in the event that I bought suits, I would pay for them over time, and in certain instances at discounted prices from stores in Sandton City. In many instances, such suits would be sponsored by local designers wishing me to advertise for them given my public profile. I deny that I paid with cash from the boot of my official vehicle. This has been inserted to provide some type of support for discredited witness number 3. What do you say to that?
As far as I know, there's only one suit that was sponsored out of more than 200 suits that he had. So most of the suits were paid, and I know that they were paid. So there's only one suit that it was sponsored for him.
Okay. And you say he has more than 200 suits?
He has a lot of suits.
Did you say 200?
No, it was just an estimation.
All right. Well, is it more or less than that?
Yeah, he has a lot of them.
What would be a realistic estimation?
Yeah, there are more than hundreds because.
More than 100?
Yeah, because he has them in 2 rooms at home, and a lot of them, he kept them from this year. He took them to the storage. So he has a lot of them at the storage.
Okay.
And then he goes on to say at paragraph 119, effectively, that he denies that he gave you a credit card, talks about a debit card. What is your position in relation to that?
When he says it was a debit card with 3,000, there's nothing in my life that I can do with 3,000, and he knows that. So when it says it was a debit card, that's him saying that. For me, what I know, it was a credit card. He said it was his credit card, but it didn't have his signature, but it was a credit card.
And what was the limit on that credit card?
What he said to me, he said I mustn't use money more than 100,000. So I don't know how much was the credit card, how much was the limit, because it was not linked to me. But when I go overseas, sometimes I will use it to buy a bag. Like, to make an example, bag maybe will cost like 30 to 40,000. So it's a lie that it has 3,000. Also in my life, there's nothing I can do with 3,000 rand.
All right. And then at paragraph 56, this is the...
So he had given you a limit, which was 100,000, a limit for you, but you didn't know what the...
Yes, I didn't know how much
limit
was...
for him was.
Yes.
Okay.
And 100,000 over what period, Ms. Gigaba?
You mean like period of time?
Yes, I mean 100,000 in what space of time?
So he said in a month.
All right. Now in paragraph 56, this is the incident where you describe that you found him packing money into his safe, and that he said to you that he had been given the money by AJ for ANC election activities. Now, this is something that you've repeated quite often in your evidence. I just want to take you to 125. Mr. Gigaba says, I emphatically deny the contents hereof. If Mr. AJ Gupta wanted to donate money to the ANC towards the election campaign, why would he give it to me? for my private possession instead of giving it to the ANC directly. You want to comment on that, his denial of what you say?
That's what he told me when I was asking him what was the money for, because I was shocked why he was having a lot of money like that. So that's what he said to me.
Then if I could take you now to a different topic, and that relates to Nzipo Gigaba. The heading at page 33 of the schedule, you'll see it's reproduced from the pleadings, payment of her bad debt and employment at Sahara Computers. Now, what you say in paragraph 58 of your affidavit is that there was a family meeting, there was a discussion about the sister being in debt, and you said at 58 that at a later stage Mr. Gigaba told me that Mr. AJ Gupta had agreed to give him 850,000 and that Mr. Mngoma would collect the initial amount of 425. He also told me that Mr. Mngoma would assist the family with the process to have the sister's name removed from adverse listing by credit bureaus. At paragraph 128, Mr. Gigaba says, I do not know who my sister was indebted to, but I do know that she disposed of her assets that she had in order to discharge her liabilities. I admit that my sister's debts were discussed with me by my father and sister, but to the extent that I assisted somehow, it was with basic things such as groceries, petrol, until her car was finally repossessed that could be catered for from my own salary. My parents also contributed the same. The allegation that I would ask AJ Gupta for money is denied as scurrilous and sounds like a convenient untruth. What do you have to say to that?
So I remember that meeting. So his father called him to come to KZN. Then he said there was something very urgent that he wanted to discuss with him. And then when Malusi tried to say he was busy at work, he won't be able to go, then his father insisted that he needs to come. So Malusi asked me to come with him. So we went there, it was me and our kids. So when we got at his home, so his father called him and the sister to go in another room. Then he left, I was left with his mom. And they took like hours, I think like an hour or 2 hours discussing that. And then we left. Malusi said we must go back to Joburg, and we drove back to Joburg. Then I asked him, I was like, what was this thing so pressing for your dad, like for you to come from Joburg, and also why I was not allowed to go to the meeting because we are a couple. So then Malusi explained to me, he said, no, his father called him. He said he needs to assist his sister because his sister was stressing. I know that he was going through so much stress. So then he told me that his sister, because his sister is an optometrist by profession, so he used to have a practice in Potchefstroom, and that practice was in debt. It came in a time where it was closed, so the sister couldn't pay off. And then the father was telling Malusi that he needs to assist the sister so that he can find another job. Because now the reason the sister is not employable, just because she's blacklisted. So then I asked her how much is she owing. So Malusi said he's owing 850. Then I was 850,000. Then I was shocked. I was like, your father is asking you to pay 850,000. Where are we going to get that money? Then he said, yeah, that's the only way because the sister needs to be taken out of credit bureau so that he can able to apply for a job. Then I said, what did you say to your dad? He said, no, I'm going to help her out. I was like, how are you going to help her out? Where are we going to get that kind of money? So he said he's going to raise it with AJ. Then he will go discuss with them. He will see what they can do. Then the discussion ended there on that day. We drove all the way. 2 days later, then Malusi said he's going to talk to them. And then when he came back, he said to me, they agreed, but they said they won't give him the whole amount at the time. They won't only give him half. Then I said, when are they going to give that money to you? He said, firstly, he will talk to Siyabonga Mahlangu. Siyabonga was his legal advisor at the time, because he said there are process of removing someone from credit bureau, which his sister won't be able to do it by herself at that time. So I think 2 days later, Malusi had a meeting with Siyabonga, and then he came back. He told me that Siyabonga was going to go pick up the half of the money. He will meet with the sister. Then you will help the sister to remove her name. I think 2 weeks later, I asked him, how's that process going? So then Malusi told me that like the process of removing someone from credit bureau is not an easy process, but Siyabonga knows how to assist, so he will assist the sister. So then he would go fetch the half, and then he would do the payment and assist the sister with all the process, which I don't know how the processes of credit bureau, because I've never been on credit bureau. And at that time, the sister was not working. And later on, the sister came to stay with us. Malusi told me that the sister is going to come stay with us. And at that time, he was giving her, I think, 20,000. Sometimes he would give her 30,000 just to buy herself stuff. So later, the sister came to stay with us in Pretoria. And then Malusi told me that she will go to work at Sahara. So I think 2 months later, then she started working at Sahara. So when she was working at Sahara, then I asked them, so now is she going to be able to work? Because previously you said she's not employable because of she's being blacklisted and stuff like that. Then she said she sorted it out. So then I asked him, because I wanted him to explain how this whole thing. Then he said Siyabonga is doing the whole thing. Then everything is going to be completed. So I was not part of the whole process. Siyabonga was, and Malusi, they were helping the sister. Then the sister came to stay with us in Pretoria, work for Sahara for a few months, because it was not more than 5 months. Because when they gave her a position to do marketing, and the position, I remember, she got frustrated about it because she's an optometrist by profession, and she was hired to do a marketing position. And I remember she used to raise that to Malusi, that the job is kind of difficult for her because she's working in a marketing field, and she was a doctor by profession. So, and then we had an argument. One of the days, it was at night. Then she just drove at night. She left our house. That was how he left. So when she left the house, she left the job. She drove all the way to KZN. So the following day, we were called by the dad, telling us that we need to come home. So he called Malusi, not me. Malusi told me that the father was calling us in KZN, which we went. We had a family meeting where the father was addressing us, especially me, because the sister told that he had an argument with me. So I explained myself, what she was doing at my house that I didn't like, which was her religious things that I don't agree with, which I don't want to talk about to protect her privacy. So then that's how she left the job. She didn't resign. And then I remember Malusi was talking to AJ, because AJ was asking Malusi why the sister doesn't resign. Because when she left, she didn't resign. She just left, took her stuff at home, packed at night. When we woke up in the morning, she was not there. So that's how everything ended.
Could I please take you to paragraph 60? You deal here with the renovations to Mr. Gigaba's home on the family plot, as it is stated in the heading. And Mr. Gigaba says...
I'm sorry, Mr. Maibe. Does Mr. Gigaba admit that her sister did work at Sahara in his affidavit? Or is that...
Yes, at paragraph 130, Mr. Gigaba does admit that his sister worked at Sahara for a period of no more than 4 months.
Okay.
DCJ.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
He does go on to say an employment that she got herself without my assistance. I want to just direct your attention then, please, to paragraph 132. The Mandeni property belonged entirely to my late father. Any extensions and renovations that have been done to the property were funded by my late father. What do you have to say to that?
That one is not true. So when the house was built during the time, his father was very sick. And there was a point where I went to his home to fetch his father to stay with us so that I can able to take care of him, because the sister was not okay as well. And Malusi was very busy with his work. So then his father later admitted here at Mill Park Hospital. Then it was me who was traveling every day. And I remember at his medical aid couldn't pay some of the machine because of his BP, the breathing machines and everything. So he didn't have that kind of money, like, because some of the stuff he used to pay for was like maybe 2,000 or 3,000. Malusi used to pay for his dad, or when Malusi was not around, was in Cape Town, I used to pay for his father. So it's very strange to me that someone who can pay 2,000 rand can just build the entire house. And also on top of that, if his father had money to extend the house, why he called us previously to go all the way to KZN to assist his sister to take him out of credit bureau? Because at that time, his sister was the last born, because 2 kids behind her passed away. She was the last born. And also, she's very close to the father. So why would the father take the 850,000 and pay for the sister to take it out of the credit bureau? Then he would rather, and the sister didn't have a house at the time, but why would the father would just extend the house for someone who stays in Pretoria, who has a house, and who has a two-room in Durban, and then now you will just go and build another house for the same person, but you have someone who have nothing. So for me, that doesn't make sense. And also, we used to pay for his medication because I was there. It's me who took care of his father.
Can I ask you, what work did Mr. Gigaba's father do?
His father was just a reverend. So that was the other thing that's shocking to me when he said his father built a house. Because of his health, even when I met Malusi, his father was not working. He already retired a long time ago as a reverend, which was someone was living on tithing from the church. So how can that person can build an entire house?
Then at paragraph 61 of your affidavit, you dealt with the fact that you said that Mr. Gigaba contracted his brother-in-law as the builder, and that you came to learn that A.J. Gupta funded the renovations. Mr. Gigaba says at paragraph 134 that this is a blatant lie, that Mr. A.J. Gupta funded the building renovations. He says, it's noteworthy that Nomshula, this is at 135, does not indicate in what circumstances she allegedly obtained this knowledge. You want to comment on that?
So, since he says his father, this one is just easy for him to prove. If he says I'm lying, then if he says his father was the one who was paying his brother-in-law, because his brother-in-law is still alive, and it's his family member who was building the house. Because I remember most of the time Malusi will be so frustrated that he feels like his brother-in-law is overpricing him in terms of the prices. And most of the time when we go to KZN, he will give him cash and we will sit with him because they are very, very close. So if he says his father paid that, he can still go to his father-in-law and then take the receipts, and then he brings them here in the commission.
All right, and then at paragraph 62, you said that, or you say, I was present on at least 3 occasions when Mr. Gigaba paid the builder in bundles of cash for the tiling and plumbing. I do not know how much money was given. Mr. Gigaba's response at 137 is that this is a blatant untruth. Want to comment on that?
So the easiest way, because everything is untrue to him, he can just give the proof of everything, especially when you build a house. It's either he can produce an EFT that maybe he'd done that it has those dates, or he can ask the builder to give them the receipts. Because as far as I know, Malusi never done any EFT to pay his brother-in-law. He was paying him cash. So if I'm lying, he's telling the truth, he can just call him because it's his brother-in-law, they're very close. Then he can bring the receipts to the commission.
Which year did this happen, the building?
It was...
When did it take place?
2013 and early 2014. Because it was before our wedding.
Okay, all right.
Then, if I could take you, please, to paragraph 65. That's the paragraph where you were addressing the fact that you were taken on a tour of the Gupta residence, and that in the process you saw an ATM, automated teller machine. What Mr. Gigaba says at paragraph 140 is, I do not recall being part of a small group that toured a newly renovated house in the Gupta compound. Neither have I been shown any automated teller machine. It seems bizarre to me that Nomshula would be shown an ATM at a private residence that could dispense an entire 10,000 rand. I emphatically deny that she witnessed this. What do you say to that?
There was one of the function, if you can call it, or an event based on the Diwali. Since even yesterday I said I only attended 2 functions in 10 years I was with him. So on that day we were there with him and he was fascinated like I was fascinated. Everyone who was there, especially me, I thought that it was an ATM. But it was a different kind of ATM because it doesn't have a lot of buttons like an ATM, especially on the screen. And it's a bit smaller than an ATM. So when we saw that, everyone stopped because firstly they showed us a sauna. For me, it was the first time I see a house, someone has his own sauna at home. Oh, it was not my first time to see a cinema, but to see a bigger cinema also, it was in someone else's house. It was something else. So I was shocked because they were taking us to a tour to show us that. So when all of us, people were there, that small group of people, we saw the machine. Everyone was just fascinated. Even him, he was fascinated. So I don't even understand why he's just denying this, because that machine was not his machine. It belonged to the Gupta family. And also all of us were standing there when AJ was demonstrating to us how it works. Although I didn't see him loading money on it, I only saw him when he was just pressing, telling us that you just press maybe how much you want, and then he just takes the money out. So at that time, I thought it was an ATM. But when we were doing the preparation to come here, when we were looking at the internet, then I saw it was the cash machine.
All right. So now I want to take you to your paragraph 66 and 66.1, where you say that you asked Mr. Gigaba for a divorce, and then at 66.1, Mr. Gigaba asked me to delay the divorce proceedings until he appears before the commission. So what Mr. Gigaba says in response is that you have an ulterior motive. He says at 143, in this regard, in or during January 2021, when Nomshula returned from home, she approached me in the study, advised me as follows, sub 1, I should request my divorce attorneys to contact her attorneys and engage in settlement discussions, in brackets, which involve paying her a considerable settlement fee. Sub 2, I must immediately withdraw the criminal complaint that had been opened in July 2020 against her for malicious damage to property. And sub 3, she had been approached by the Commission to testify against me following her ENCA interview, but would refuse to testify if I complied with conditions 1 and 2. What do you say to that?
That one, the meeting happened. So that was after my arrest and also a couple of appearances, which when the school sent an email to both of us saying our kids are affected about what was happening. Because what affected our kids, it's them seeing the hoax arresting me in the house. And then they told the teachers that, and then the teachers called us. So on going forward, I saw how my kids were feeling about that, and also appearing to court, doing all the processes in court, and our lives being in the media. So in December, when I did the interview, because how Malusi did the whole thing. So when my arrest was orchestrated, Malusi acted like I did something, which everything they did it so that they can have access to my gadgets and my arrest as well. So when I did the interview with NCA, I wanted to highlight to the public that everything was just orchestrated. It's not what Malusi acting it was. When I approached Malusi earlier in the year, I said to him, can we have a divorce for my personal reasons? And I explained all the reasons to him why I want us to divorce. And I wanted us to do a divorce amicably and silently. So when Malusi decided to file for the divorce, he went to sign the world. So after my arrest, it was in August, I saw myself on the front page that Malusi is divorcing me. And I went to him. I was like, how come Sunday World is saying we're getting a divorce? Because we haven't taken that decision yet. You said I must pause. Then he said he doesn't know they are lying. So I said to him, I remember in September before the summons, I received the summons, I said to him, after my court appearances, I'm gonna go to Ombudsman and I will open a case against Sunday World to ask them why they're publishing our divorce, because both of us, we haven't filed for the divorce. And the same week, I received, and I was going to court, I received a phone call from a sheriff saying he's delivering something where I am. Then I was at home, and it was the divorce. That was in August. I think it was in September, 2 months later, after my arrest. And then now I couldn't go challenge the Sunday World because the divorce was already there. And the court proceedings carried on. So in December, when I was at home, I sat down, I thought about everything, about the kids, how they were going through the therapy, and everything around us as a family. So in January, so on the 18th of December, after my interview, I received a call from the commission. They said, based on my interview, would I like to come and appear to the commission? Because I said, if the commission called me, I won't mind to come. Then I told them, I said, no, I don't have a problem, as long as I will be allowed to have my legal team to guide me. So they said, the commission is closing. When they open on the 11th, they will contact me again. Then I left home, then I thought about everything. So on the 11th of January, the commission called me. They said they would want to meet with me discussing based on the call we had in December. Then I said, I don't have a problem, but at the moment, I can't meet with them because I don't have the legal team yet, because the people that I'm using for my criminal case and the civil case, they haven't opened yet. They're still on a holiday. So when I met with Malusi, firstly, here he's talking about, I showed him the WhatsApp messages. Myself and the commission at the time, we haven't committed via WhatsApp. Commission didn't have any WhatsApp communication between me and them. It was only 2 calls that happened. So it's a lie when he said, I showed him the WhatsApp messages. One. Two, when he says, I said, I will go to a commission based on, when I was talking to him, I said to him, Malusi, I feel like us going back and forth, because I don't know what you want from me. Because the other thing he wanted the kids, he wanted me to move out of our home. Then I said to him, I can't just leave our kids. But if that's what you want, you are fighting me for the kids, I will leave the kids. And then let's sit down. Every weekend, the kids must come to me. And every holiday, the kids must come to me. Then I said, if all this noise, because you know deep down that I didn't do anything, can we just, like, we call our lawyers, and then I go approach my legal team for the civil case. I drop the case, you drop the case, then we focus on the divorce out of the media. That's what I offered him. When I was doing that, I said to him, I want us to have our divorce, like, peacefully out of the media. And I was offering that based on the concern of our kids, because I didn't want the two of us to have our divorce, because to me, even today, it doesn't make sense, the whole thing. Why Malusi will want me to go through all this thing? Why I must be arrested? Why my information must be taken? Why must I go through all this? And I even said to him, I said, rather for me to pay for lawyers, I'd rather to pay for myself to survive, and you do the same. So the discussion was based on that. And what he said to me, he said, I understood why you did the interview. Hope one day you will you will find it in your heart to forgive me. I'm really grateful that you come with this discussion. I'm sorry about everything. I will talk to my lawyer, which is Billy, that is lawyer for the divorce. Then I will talk to my lawyers. So 2 days later, I came back to him. I said, did you talk to your lawyer? Then he said his lawyer is sick. Then I said, why don't you send him a text? Because I need to go to court in February. Then he said, no, I will talk to my lawyer. A week later, I asked him again, did you talk to your lawyer? Then Malusi said, yes, he spoke to his lawyer. I told my lawyers called his lawyer was blank. Didn't even know about the discussion. So everything, it was just so different. Then I came back to my lawyers, I was like, you know what, let's just leave this whole thing. Because now which Malusi lied. So if that's what you want, and I went to him, I said, if this is what you want, I'm going on with the case. You can go on, because he knows, like, my whole arrest was unlawful. Then I said, I will go on to challenge it. But it's just so unfortunate that this is what you want out of our family. So the whole meeting, it was from the good heart. I wanted to protect our family, and I wanted us to have an amicable divorce. When he put, like, advocate Ngogaitobi here.
Sorry, Ms. Gigaba, I'm not dealing with paragraph 140.
Sorry?
I'm not dealing with 143.4 now.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd like to just to go back to 143.
Okay.
In January of 2021, Did you seek to bribe Mr. Gigaba by saying to him that if he pays you a big settlement and withdraws the criminal complaint against you, you would refuse to testify in the commission? That's what he's saying.
Okay.
Did you do that?
I didn't do that.
Right.
So me appearing at the commission got nothing to do with our divorce. Right. And it was never at hand. It's either we were doing the settlement, I was still going to come to the commission, because that was me clarifying my arrest that is put out there, why my gadgets were taken. That was me doing my duties as the South African, whatever.
All right. Could I now turn to paragraph...
Citizen.
Yeah.
It's just like this thing upset me. So it has never about this. And the reason I said to him, one of us must leave the house, it was just because of the tension between the two of us, that our older son is affecting him, because he doesn't like the tension when we don't talk. So that's the reason I said, Malusi, can you please go stay to our other house? I stay with the kids. Or I take the kids, I go stay to the other house. He said he's going to talk to his financial advisor, who's Smith, and then he will see what he's going to do. So then later, Malusi came back. He said to me, his lawyer said he can't move out in the house because we are both married out of commit of property. If he's moving out, he's waiving his rights as the pay our contract of our marriage. So he refused. So I said to him, I'm not leaving either because I can't leave my kids with him for personal reasons. He knows that he can't take care of the kids.
Could I then ask you, please, to go to 143.4?
Okay.
He says, in support of what she had advised me, she showed me WhatsApp communications between herself and the Commission representatives pertaining to her giving evidence against me. Did you do that or didn't you?
So everyone is here that I was communicating with them in the Commission. I've never had a WhatsApp communication between the members, myself and the Commission people.
So did you show him WhatsApp communications between
There was
you and
no
the
WhatsApp
Commission?
communication because I've never communicated with the Commission via WhatsApp.
He goes on to say, she also said to me that Advocate Nkotobi SC was very excited about this opportunity for her to testify against me and had offered to assist her. She further told me that Advocate Nkotobi SC is part of the Commission and was extremely close to the chairperson through his assistance of the chairperson in another matter. Did you say that to him or didn't you?
I didn't. Also, this is a lie. Malusi just like picking on Advocate Nkotobi because that time I haven't even spoken to him. His offices were still closed and he was still on leave.
He goes on to say, actually prior to this, she had repeatedly informed me that she was being lured by several high-ranking officials in the State Security Department within the ANC and other opposition parties to assist them in destroying me politically on the promise of money, house, and vehicle incentives. So he says you repeatedly informed him of that. Did you do that?
I didn't do that, and that's a lie that I said to him there were people on the top 6. The first time I heard that, it was from him before even the arrest. Malusi said someone from the top 6 leaked the video. There was a porn video of Malusi that he did, and he came to me. He said one of the top 6 members leaked the video for him. And also when he resigned, he said to me he was forced to resign. He didn't do it voluntarily. And one of the top 6 members, he was told by someone else in the top 6 that in the meeting of top 6, someone was pushing the president to make him resign. So that's not the only time I had the discussion about the top 6.
He goes on to say that as we speak, she is currently driving a car bought for her as part of that scheme, probably as a reward for her having dragged my name in the media and having come forward to testify against me in the Commission. Are you driving a car bought for you as part of the scheme?
Can you please repeat the question?
Could have a look at paragraph 143.4.
Okay.
The last sentence.
Yes.
As we speak, she is currently driving a car bought for her as part of that scheme.
So this is a lie. No one has ever bought me a car and gave it to me. And Malusi, I've never went to any media to drag his name. The only media people that I went, it was ENCA, and I was clarifying my arrest. 2, when it comes to the car, it's not the first time I drive cars by myself. He's the only person who never had a car in the 10 years we've been together. So for me, it's not a new thing that I had a car that got nothing to do with him.
What car are you currently driving?
Is it relevant for you to talk about that?
I mean, where did it come from? Did you buy it?
Yes.
All right. So the car that you're currently driving, you purchased it yourself?
Yes.
All right. 143.5, around September 2020, she had a meltdown, as she again mentioned the names of some of those people who were involved, all politicians, and said she would not want to be involved in their political ploy against me, and that she would let them know. In return, She asked me to find her an apartment in Johannesburg, pay for her studies, which she subsequently abandoned, and assist her with some allowance until she found a job. Do you want to comment on that briefly?
There is a lie when it comes to September. Malusi stopped giving me allowance. That was last year, March. And from March last year until today, I'm doing everything for myself. And it's not the first time. From 2014 until 2018, I take care of myself.
All right, then he goes on to say, whilst I was busy with that, she changed her mind and told me that she did not...
I'm sorry, Mr. Maybach.
Yeah.
Did you say from 2014 to 2018 you took care of yourself?
Yes, when Malusi, when that car didn't come back, the car that Malusi was given by the Guptas, the 5 Series.
The BMW?
Yes, the BMW. I went to buy a car myself at Mercedes, which I've given the details of that car to the commission, because all the deductions for that car, how I was paying for the car, I was paying myself. And besides the car only, from 2007, the phone that I'm using, my contract, I've been paying for my contract phone. I do everything myself. Malusi is the only one in the house who doesn't pay anything because the state does it. Even the phone that he's using now, or his flights, it's paid by the state. Then I pay for my flight tickets. So it's very strange for him to act like it's the first time now we're going through the divorce. He's shocked how I'm surviving, because I have been surviving by myself while he's there. The only time he will assist me is when I'm going to a holiday, that's all. But I take care of myself.
So the credit card that you said he made available to you, was it for you to only use when you were on holiday, or only to use for certain things, and other things you were taking care of yourself, or what was the position?
So at the time when we met in 2009 and 10, I was not working. That's when he given me the credit card. Then when I started working, then he took the credit card. So he will only give me the credit card when I'm going overseas. So when I was working, I was using my own salary to do stuff. Also, we don't pay for much. We were not paying for much in the house, because in the state house, the state was paying for everything in terms of water, because they even pay for the helpers, is paid by Public Works. So the only thing that Malusi used to pay for was the DSTV. So my money, I was using my money to do my own shopping, to do my own stuff. But when I go overseas, he will give me money. Also, there's nothing wrong when he was doing that, because I was his wife. He was supposed to take care of me as much as I was taking care of myself.
Okay. Mr. Maita.
Yes, thank you. At 145, he says that he resisted your attempt to strong-arm him into a settlement. He goes on to say at 146 that you became extremely agitated and annoyed by his response. He says it's now clear that had I agreed to her proposed settlement agreement, she would not have gone to the commission, and on this basis alone, her evidence should be struck from the record. You've already commented on that. Have you got anything further to add?
This is a lie. The commission's got nothing to do with our divorce.
At 147, he says, thereafter, right up to the present time, Namshula has repeatedly stated that if I offered her my house at Blue Valley or a cash equivalent, she would drop the whole commission issue and pretend that the divorce proceedings had been withdrawn, and that we intended to remain married until the commission wrapped up its business. What do you have to say about that?
So to respond on that, for me to say it's either him or me, I go to Blue Valley. I wanted us not to stay in the same roof. And also, when that house was bought in 2015, Malusi said he was buying the house for me. And because of the incident that happened, I didn't want to take the house at the time because I was very angry at him. Then, so when I was offering that, I wanted the kids to be in a positive environment. It's got nothing to do with the commission. 2, There was no way myself, even today, I will have so much discussion about the divorce because our divorce doesn't affect me that much. Because Malusi only filed for the divorce. Until today, he has never said anything to my lawyers. So there's no way where my divorce like is on my neck, or it's only my lawyers who I keep on sending emails to his lawyers and they take time to respond, they're not even responding. So the divorce is not a big deal to us. Malusi only did that to cover up for Sunday World when I was going to challenge that. And also, everything in the house, it's me who paid it. I have the whole receipt, I send it to my lawyer. So it's either we are divorcing or not. I'm not affected that much by the divorce because everything that is there is owned by me. And the house that we're staying there, Malusi is renting, and he's doing that for his kids. So it's either we're going through a divorce or not, Malusi will still pay his part for our kids. So it's not a big deal. It's not like I'm going to lose much because he doesn't even have that much. Also, Malusi doesn't have even one car. I'm the one who always owns cars in my name. Malusi doesn't own cars. So divorce is not a big deal. He's making it a big deal, but it's not a big deal.
At 1:48, he says, I contacted my attorneys the following day to advise them of what had occurred. Now that relates to the Blue Valley house or the cash equivalent, and him saying that he would rather persist with the divorce proceeding. He says at 1:48, they subsequently contacted her attorneys. That evening she was extremely upset that I told my attorneys that it was she who had made this offer to me and said I should have said it was our agreement. Do you have any comment on that?
Also, this part, it's a lie. That was after myself and the commission started the proceedings. And then I got a call from City Press. They wanted my affidavit. And I told them that I don't have an affidavit. They said it's very strange I don't have my affidavit because everyone who's going to appear to the commission have an affidavit. And I told them that at that moment, I was not sure I'm going to go to the commission because I didn't want them to confirm. And I also said to them everything was confidential. So if they want my affidavit, they can contact the commission. So that's got nothing to do with him. When it comes to this, I even said to them, I don't want to talk to them because Malusi is the one who went to City Press when the media was putting a lot of pressure to him why I was arrested by the hoax. Then City Press put a story that the reason I was arrested by the hoax is just because there was a conspiracy to murder against Malusi, which I was linked on. When we go to court, that page was not even there on the docket until, as we stand, City Press and Malusi accuse me of the conspiracy to murder, and that is nowhere to be found. And I wanted that to be furnished to me why I was linked on the conspiracy to murder.
And then at 1:49, I'm not sure that I follow precisely what is being said, but Mr. Gigaba says a few days later she told the City Press the same lie she has now repeated to the Commission, except that in the City Press article she claimed that I had offered to withdraw the criminal case against her in exchange of her not testifying at the Commission. I will attempt to obtain a copy of the article. Do you have any comment on that?
That's him and the City Press who can, because they have a relationship of writing stories beside me. When City Press called me, they never asked me such questions.
Then at 66.2, around June 2020, Mr. Gigaba asked me for all my electronic devices, because he had brought someone to our home who he introduced as an IT expert. He refused to hand them over, etc. Now, this is something that you've repeated to the chairperson in the course of your evidence already. He emphatically denies this. Have you got anything to add to what you've already said? He says it's not true that they demanded her gadgets. She says he says that the gadgets were collected on the day the police came to arrest her. What do you say about that?
Firstly, if this is not true, why the Hawks were involved in my case? Where we stay, there's a Brooklyn police station, which is like less than 10 minutes away from my house. So if I did something that was supposed to be reported to the police, Malusi was supposed to go to the police station, and the members of the South African police were supposed to come to my home. For the fact that like members of the Hawks from Mpumalanga all the way, they came to arrest me at home. Malusi knew that what he was planning. 2, on their affidavit, they lied to the NPA. They said they were police who are stationed at Brooklyn, which they lied on their affidavit. They were members of the Hawks. When you look at the nature of my case, let's say, since Malusi said I was arrested by the members of the Hawks because I sent a message to his friend, members of the Hawks, they don't hold that mandate to arrest people. That's 1. 2, since he says I scratched the car, even that so was a domestic incident, it doesn't even involve the Hawks. Even if it does, I was supposed to be arrested by the Hawks, maybe who stays around in Pretoria. The fact that Malusi called the Hawks all the way from Mpumalanga, came all the way to home, denied my rights to call the lawyer. He knew what he was doing. There is no way I will give all my gadgets for 1 message voluntarily. I'm the person who loves my phone. 2, there's no way I will take my password and my pins. And I was writing exams at that time. And he knew how much I wanted to finish my exams. And then I will just deliberately give all my 5 gadgets to the members of the Hawks, the people that I don't even know. That thing, Malusi knows how much my bedroom and my walking-in closet, it's such a privacy. But members of the Hawks already knew which phone was kept, which means it's him who told them. There's an iPad that I used to use where I used to work, and I haven't used that iPad for 2 years, and it's staying in another room, not in my bedroom. But members of the Hawks, when I gave them everything, they were like, "Where is your iPad?" And how would they ask, "Where is the iPad?" when I haven't used the iPad for 2 years? And I even said to them, like, that iPad, I don't even know where's the charger, because they wanted the passcode. I said, I don't even know where's the charger, and I haven't used it. Why you want? Because the WhatsApp message was sent via the iPhone. But why they demanding an iPad and a laptop? Why they took my laptop? So all this was just orchestrated by him with these friends of his. I call him his friends because the person who opened charges against me, it's his friend who stays in Middleburg, who knows those Hawks. And Malus, at some point, I remember, I think it was 2013, 2012, Malusi was deployed in Mpumalanga. So there is a big possibility that he's the one who knows those people. Because if then I did something wrong, Malusi was supposed to go to police station, which is just down the road, and open the case there, not to call the members of the Hawks. And even today, I will never give my phone to anyone to just invade my privacy like that.
I don't know whether, Mr. Maybeg, you had raised this. I see that at RAF 150, he challenges you to name the IT expert who came to your home and asked for your, or when he asked you for your gadgets. You may have mentioned his name before.
I didn't mention his name before because I didn't even know who was the guy. Because when he came to my bedroom. Because Malusi stays in the east of the house, I stay in the west of the house. So when he came there, he said to me, there is a guy in my study who's here to take our gadgets and delete the stuff. So it's him who knows him.
Okay, you don't know the name?
No, I don't know the name of the guy.
Okay, all right. Mr. Maybach.
Thank you. want to...
But you would recognize him if he came in here.
I didn't go to his study. He told me that there was an IT expert.
Oh, you didn't see him?
Yes. I didn't
okay.
even go with him because I just dismissed that. I said, I don't want things to be deleted in my phone.
Okay, all right.
I just then want to take you to one final thing in the schedule. Paragraph 66, you deal with the disappearance of passports. 66 and 67. And at 154, Mr. Gigaba says, what has the disappearance of the passports got to do with me? Do you want to comment on that?
It's got a lot to do with him because I'm the one who kept the passports, and also a day before my passport got disappeared, I made the copies because I wanted to bring the copies to the commission so that when we talk about the dates, I will know which trip happened when. Because I have two passports. One is an ordinary passport and the other one is a diplomat passport. So the diplomat passport, the department keeps it for us. Then the other one, I keep it myself. So I went to do the copies. Then when I came back, I put it there. So when I went to meet with the commission, I forgot the copies. And because I wanted to give them the proper dates, which trip was taken when, so that when we prepare with the commission, we have proper dates. So when I was leaving, because I forget that when we had the meeting with the commission, I called his former PA. I asked her, because I wanted to have that diplomatic passport so that I know which one was the state visit, which one was I don't know whether I can say like a normal visit.
Private visit.
Private visit.
Yeah.
So I called her. Then I asked her, like, do you know what's the process of me getting my diplomat passport? Then, do you have any sequence of my traveling? Then he said, yes, I have. I will call you now in 5 minutes. So I waited, and that time I was leaving Sandton. Then I drove all the way halfway. When I was halfway, I felt like this is more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes. She hasn't called me back. I called her again. I was like, did you receive everything? Then he was like, no, I don't know how you're going to get your passport. I don't know, I don't have the sequence anymore. And then when I was trying to talk to her, then she didn't sound like she sounded before. Because when I called her before, she was so relaxed. She was like, oh, don't worry, I have everything in my system. I will give it to you. And he knew how I'm going to get my passport. But all of a sudden, in a few minutes, she was just shaking. She couldn't even know. She said, I don't have anything. Then I was like, no, it's okay. When I get home, I will check with my private passport. So when I got home, my passport was not there. At the same time, I took the picture because my passport had the cover. The copies were not there, and my passport was not there, and the two passports of my kids were not there in my shelf in my bedroom. And he's the only one who can just come in the house. Firstly, I went to the helpers. Then I asked them, where's my passport? Both of them, they were like, no, Sissy, we didn't know, we didn't take your passport. Then I went to him. Then when I went to him, I said, I see that you took the kid's passport. Can I please have mine back? Then he said, what passport? What passport are you talking about? I was like, I'm talking about my passport. They were there yesterday, and there were copies, and I saw them. Then he said, no, I don't know them. I didn't take them. I was like, Malusi, I see the game you are playing. Why are you taking my passports? Then he said he didn't. And I told him that I know why you're taking that, because you don't want me to have the sequence of my trips. Then he kept quiet. He didn't say anything. I took the picture. I sent to the people with the commission. I was like, the new thing that happened right now, my passport got stolen. And I think a week later, I went to apply for my passport. I did an affidavit, which I have a new passport right now. So what I did, I called someone who's a former official in the Home Affairs. I asked them, how can I get my trips because I want to assist the commission so that when I talk about the dates, I give the proper dates. And that's where Malusi, in his response, that's where he's challenging how I'm putting the wrong dates, which he did that deliberately, that I mustn't have the proper dates, because we did a lot of traveling. There's no way I will know we're in this country at this time. And also we had our own private visits and we had the state visits. I can't keep all that in my head. So when I called that government official, he said to me, you need to send an email to this person. I sent an email. Then they said they will give me my whole, from the immigration, they will give me the whole history. So from now on, I haven't received that. But they said if I need to, they will give me all that.
Why do you think, Mr. Gigaba, why do you think there were trips that Mr. Gigaba might not have wanted to be conveyed to the commission?
Because firstly, on his affidavit, he denies that we, Mr. Dumieni paid the trip for us. So he doesn't want the trip to be there, which she did pay our trip to Mauritius. She even emailed their whole itinerary for us. And I remember when we were in Mauritius, Malusi didn't even know where to get the car and everything, because he's not used to travel without his stuff. And that time when we were traveling, it was the two of us. Two, when we went to Dubai, and there are certain trips I traveled with him, there are certain trips I traveled alone. So he didn't want me to have the proof of those trips that it happened. Hence, he took my passport.
But why would he not want there to be proof of those trips?
Because there's a trip that I remember when we stayed at, in Hilton in Dubai, and even the trip that we stayed in Waldorf in Dubai. There was a trip, then Malusi said AJ will sort out the trip for us. And when we were in Dubai, AJ came with another guy, called Malusi, that they want he want Malusi to meet people there. And then they went. So I said to Malusi, I don't want to go. Where they're going, I want to do my own things alone. So when he came back, Malusi was telling me that AJ, because he was just so excited that he said AJ took him in a floor where there was a jewelry. I don't know, is it owned by him or is owned by a friend? So he went to this place, and when he came back with watches. I think they bought him 2 watches, and then he was just so taken about this jewelry. Because I'm not a jewelry person, I don't like jewelry. So that trip, what I know, it was them who paid it for us. So that's the reason he deleted those itinerary on my emails, because most of my emails are deleted. And also, when we went on those trips also, I took pictures, and all those pictures are deleted because he's denying that we went on the trip. So that hence he took my passport as well.
When was the trip, if you are able to remember?
The trip was like, some happened in 2014, some happened in 2013, then some happened in 2015. The one happened in 2015, as I remember, then I was there with a friend. 2016, I was there by myself, but Malusi paid the trip for me.
Now, so are there trips that were deleted from your gadgets?
Yes.
By the Hawks? Deleted by the Hawks?
Yes.
From the gadgets. How many trips are those that were deleted? Do you know?
I don't remember exactly how many.
Yeah.
But I know it's like 3-4 trips that happened. Yeah. Not with the state. Yeah. Because he didn't delete the trips. The state trip. The only thing that he deleted, it was when we went to India. I took pictures in Mumbai. And I'm not sure why he deleted those pictures, because that is the only trip, that state visit pictures that were deleted. And also, for me, it's very funny or very strange, if I can put it that way. The members of the hoax, they never travel with us. And I have a lot of pictures on my phone, but they know which picture to delete. Because if, with Malusi, we went in different places in Washington, which we went with the state, we went in New York with the state, how would the members of the hoax know they need to delete this certain picture? And there were pictures that, like, I traveled with my friends, like when I went in my birthday to Greece and I paid for the trip, and those pictures are not deleted. So why they know the certain pictures that were paid by the Guptas must be deleted in all the pictures?
Okay, Mr. Maybeck.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to take you to two other, thankfully shorter affidavits. Could you please go to bundle BB 26?
On this one?
Yes. And right towards the end, if I could ask you to turn, now this would be about 10 pages or so from the end, to page 1127.6.
So what page must I go?
1027.6, about 10 pages from the end.
I'm sorry, Mr. Maybeck. I thought it was a new bundle, but I'm told it's this one in front of me. What is the page?
This is, I beg your pardon, Transnet Bundle 7.
Yes.
Page 1027.6.
Thank you.
Ms. Gigaba, it's about 10 pages from the end. Perhaps you could open.
Is there somebody who can help her?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, somebody will help you.
– 1027.6.
While they are looking, have the Hawks responded to your allegation that they deleted certain information from your gadgets? And if they have, what have they said as far as you know?
They haven't responded to that, but the judgment from Sadiwala. So he said, from the judge, Sadiwala, he told them that they have to bring back my information because all the information that was taken, it was unlawful. So they were supposed to bring back my information from February. Until today, that information hasn't been brought back to me. And my legal team tried to push that for me to get my information back, but the members of the hoax, they haven't returned my information until today.
Okay, Mr. Maybeck.
All right, so are you at page 1027.6?
Yes.
So that is an affidavit of Mr. Masomi. He's someone that you mention in your affidavit.
Yes.
I'm going to take you to 2 paragraphs. He says, throughout my visits to this family, he's talking about the Gupta family, I've never met Mr. A.J. Gupta and don't even know the sound of his voice. The only person that I held meetings with was Mr. Tony or Atul Gupta. I know how Mr. A.J. Gupta looks like because his picture has been all over the media. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how he looks like. Therefore, it is not true that she, Ms. Mngoma, saw me joining meetings with Mr. A.J. Gupta. Do you want to comment on that briefly?
I don't care that he was meeting whoever it is, Abtul or whoever, but he was there. So I never said he was going there to meet AJ. What I said, he was there. So whoever he was meeting, that's up to him, but he was there at the Gupta's house.
Okay, at paragraph 5, he says, never even on a single occasion had I facilitated a phone call between the Gupta family and former Minister Gigaba, nor arranged a meeting between Guptas and former Minister Gigaba. You want to comment on that?
I remember when Malusi was started to ignore AJ's calls, then Tammy used to come at home and tell Malusi and ask Malusi why he is not answering the phone. He needs to answer AJ's calls because AJ was calling. And also, it's very strange that he says he was there to meet Atul at the Gupta compound. He never saw me, but and he was there, I saw him.
But if I could take you, Ms. Gigaba, forward.
Sorry?
I want to take you forward in the file by about 5 pages to page 1027.1. I want to take you up, sorry.
Forward or
the other way. Go
Backwards.
Yeah.
Backwards.
1027.1.
Okay.
That is an affidavit of Mr. Mngoma. Do you see that?
Yes.
Can I take you to paragraph 7 at the next page, 1027.2? It says at paragraph 7, I deny that I visited the Gupta residence frequently with Mr. Gigaba and that Mrs. Gigaba frequently met me at the Gupta residence. Do you want to comment on that?
Siabanga was there. So I remember a couple of times he was there.
At sub 2, I deny that I was ever invited or required to attend a meeting with Minister Gigaba and AJ Gupta, nor did I ever hold a meeting on my own with AJ Gupta. You want to comment on that?
That's up to him to comment on that. But he was there. So regardless who was he meeting, I don't know who was he meeting, but he was there at that house.
He says, I deny that I ever held a meeting with Mr. Gigaba, Mr. Masomi, and AJ Gupta.
Because when they are there are times where Tammy will be there alone, or there were times where Sabanga will be there alone, and sometimes they would be there together. Every time we'll wait for him. As when they will go all of them together. So I don't know what the meeting will be about inside.
He says further that I deny that, sub 4, I ever discussed matters of Transnet, Eskom or SAA in any meeting with the Minister, Mr. Masomi and AJ Gupta. What do you say to that?
So I can't comment on that because what I know, it was AJ was briefing Malusi about that. So he never briefed Siabonga in front of me. But when they go have the meeting, he will be there. So I don't know if he will comment on the meeting or not.
And then at paragraph 9, Mr. Mngoma deals with meetings that he accepts that he had at the Guptas. And he says in the last sentence, this is at page 1027.3, to the best of my recollection, on none of these occasions did I encounter Mrs. Gigaba. I have no recollection of ever seeing her at the Gupta residence. You want to comment on that?
So I saw him, he didn't see me. That's what he's saying.
Well, that's what it says.
Okay, I saw him, so he didn't see me, but I saw him. So that he was meeting Rajesh or whoever, but he was there.
He says at 10, I never attended a meeting with Mr. Gigaba at the Gupta residence. What do you say to that?
He was there with him.
Then at paragraph 12, I was never required by Minister Gigaba to resolve a credit bureau blacklisting for his sister as alleged by Mrs. Gigaba. At some stage, I do not recall when, Mr. Gigaba requested me to advise his sister about the legal challenges that she faced as a result of the closure of her optometry practice. The minister did not mention or ask me to deal with any issue of her blacklisting. I had a discussion with Minister Gigaba's sister in which I explained to her the legal options available to her to resolve her challenges, including procuring the services of an attorney to assist her with the matter. That was the extent of my involvement. You want to comment on that?
What he's saying is what I said, because Malusi said to me, Mr. Mahlangu will assist the sister to be taken out of credit bureau, and he will assist the sister because she was on credit bureau based on her practice, which I mentioned earlier. So if that's what he's saying, that's what I said as well.
Sorry?
So that's what I said. That's what he did. He assisted the sister to be taken out of credit bureau.
Yes, well, what he's saying is that he was never required by Minister Gigaba to resolve the credit bureau blacklisting. I suppose you can only testify to what Mr. Gigaba told you. You can't testify as to what Mr. Gigaba may or may not have told Mr. Mahlangu.
Is because when Mr. Mahlangu met with Nozipo, I was not there. It's Malusi who told me that Siyabonga is assisting the sister.
Paragraph 13, I have no knowledge of what Minister Gigaba told Mrs. Gigaba that I would do for him or for the sister. Notwithstanding that, I deny that the minister requested me to collect 425,000 rand or any amount at all from Mr. Gupta as alleged by Mrs. Gigaba. Comment on that?
So Malusi told me that Siyabonga will go collect the half of the money because they said they won't give him the whole amount at once. So then he said Siyabonga will go collect it and then Siyabonga will assist the sister with the whole proceeding. So that's Malusi told me.
All right. Now I would like to deal with the final aspect that I need to deal with, and that relates to certain criticisms of the Commission. Could I ask you firstly, please, to turn right to the end of the bundle to page 1027.23. Are you there?
Not yet.
It's the third last page, the last 3 pages in the file.
Page 1027.3.
Yes. 0.23, are you there?
Oh, 0.23, I'm sorry.
Yes. Ms. Gigaba, are you there?
Yes.
All right, so this is an affidavit of Sekili Masuku, you know him?
Yes.
And what he deals with are 3 things. The preparation of your affidavit, then security concerns, and the leak of your affidavit. I just want to take you through this, if I may. He says, I approached at paragraph 4, Ms. Mngoma, on 18 December 2020, following her interview with ENCA the previous day about her relationship with her husband, Mr. Gigaba, the interactions with the Gupta family and matters falling within the mandate of the Commission. You confirm that he did approach you, I think you've mentioned that, on the 18th.
Yes.
Then he says, the face-to-face interactions between Ms. Mngoma in the presence of her then senior counsel, Advocate Ngatobi, and the Commission personnel commenced on 21 January 2021. Would you confirm that?
Yes.
The interaction culminated in 2 affidavits filed by Ms. Mngoma with the Commission, both of which are dated 6 March 2021. The one affidavit deals with the substance of her evidence and the other affidavit deals with the threats to her personal security. Would you confirm that?
Yes.
Paragraph 7. Since 21 January 2021, the Commission has had several meetings with Ms. Mngoma, which took place at all times in the presence of Advocate Ngitobi up until about mid-March 2021. You confirm that?
Yes.
Following which, Ms. Makatini, Ms. Ngoma's new legal representative, was introduced to the Commission, in whose presence further consultations took place. You confirm that?
Yes.
The process of drafting Ms. Ngoma's main affidavit emanated from her meetings with the Commission. The development of her main affidavit to final drafts was through a process engaged with her through her counsel, Advocate Ngitobi. You confirm that?
Can you rephrase that part?
The development of her main affidavit to final drafts, in other words, the first draft to the final draft,
Yes.
okay, was through a process of engagement with Advocate Ngitobi.
Yes.
The final drafts of Ms. Ngoma's main affidavits were provided to Advocate Ngitobi in an electronic copy format for finalizing with his client, Ms. Ngoma. Do you confirm that?
No,
Well, you may not know that.
I don't know. Because what I remember, firstly, he dropped off the USB at Advocate Ngitobi's office. And then he said, I must ask the PA to print it out. The PA refused because outside the envelope where the USB was put and it was stapled, it was written confidential. So she said she doesn't want to print it out because if she prints it out, it will have the trace on their computer.
All right.
So then I called them to say. So what happened, then they, as far as I remember, they drop off the hard copy.
But I think you may be saying the same thing, because when you get to paragraph 10, my role, says Mr. Masuku, was to deliver the electronic copies of the affidavit to Advocate Ngitobi, the last version of which I delivered to his residence on 25 February 2021. And then at 11, the Commission received the two commissioned original main affidavits of Ms. Ngoma on 6 March. I think you've accepted that.
Yes.
Since the Commission's receipt of Ms. Ngoma's main affidavits on 6 March 2021, one consultation was held on 20 March 2021 with Ms. Mngoma in the presence of Advocate Ngitobi, specifically to address her concerns about the leak of her one main affidavit, which deals with her evidence to the media, and to address any security concerns, which is dealt with below. Would you confirm that there was a consultation dealing with those two issues at which Advocate Ngitobi was present on the 20th of March?
Yes.
At no stage during the meeting did Ms. Mngoma raise issues with the veracity of the contents of her main affidavit that was leaked, which she now takes issue with. She first raised issues about the contents of such affidavit at a consultation held on 8 April. Would you agree with that?
I don't agree.
All right. When did you first raise issues about the contents of your affidavit?
So when I received the call from City Press, I called the senior counsel.
Yeah.
I told them that I received a call from the City Press and they were asking about my affidavit. It's not City Press, I'm making a mistake. So it was Sunday Times.
Sunday Times.
Sunday Times, they said they have my entire copy of my affidavit and they want me to comment on my affidavit. So for me, I was shocked that how can they have my entire affidavit?
Yes.
Because when we're doing preparations with Advocate Paul Pretorius, he said, my affidavit is confidential and will be kept confidential until I appear before the commission. So there was no anywhere that my affidavit will be leaked to the media before I appear. So when that came, I was shocked and I called Tembeka about that and Tembeka told them, and also he was upset about it as well. So on the same day, they said, let's meet, let's talk about it, which the meeting took place. And
Is that the 20 March meeting? I think it was on a Saturday, from what I'm told.
yeah, it was on the Saturday afternoon.
Right. Okay. Got anything else to say in relation to that paragraph?
Yes, because in the meeting, I told them how I was not happy because they promised me that my affidavit is confidential. But now when my affidavit was leaked to the media, I felt like my trust with the commission was broken. And Tembeka as well raised those issues. So what Paul Procedural said, he said they're going to do an investigation and they will tell us the feedback, because each and every copy of the affidavit has mark on it. So they will know who leaked it.
Yes.
It's either it's within the commission or it's Malusi or AJ. So until today, so I haven't received the feedback, but I know that there's still an investigation.
All right. So that's your response to this paragraph?
Yes.
Okay. And the paragraph concludes by saying that the meeting was held also in the presence of your attorney. Is that correct?
Yes, Tembeka was there.
But it says that Ms. Makatini was also present.
Yes, she was there.
I beg your pardon.
No.
That's a reference to the 8th April meeting.
Oh, no. So what happened when we're talking about the leak of my affidavit, Ms. Makatini was not on the meeting.
That accords with the paragraph. Sorry, I led you astray. All right. And then security concerns of Ms. Mngoma. The Commission initially consulted with Ms. Mngoma in the presence of Advocate Mkatombi on 20 and 21 January. Would you confirm that?
Yes.
On both days, Ms. Mngoma was offered...
I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm trying to get a bit of attention.
Yes.
Chair, I thought it was important to probably go back to that paragraph. Because you will realize, Chair, that we highlight dates not only in the affidavit but in the letter filed as a clarificatory affidavit to the Commission on the 3 concerns that Ms. Mngoma raised in the 2 meetings that are being dealt with in this particular paragraph. And she says in the clarificatory affidavit that the first issue was the fact that an affidavit was leaked. Secondly, that certain information that she did not know was then contained in the affidavit. And further, the issues of security concerns, etc. Now, the only reason I'm raising, Chair, is so that it does not become from the question that is raised by Mr. Mabek. It just only seems to illustrate 2 concerns, being the security concern and the issue of the leak of the affidavit. And I think it ought to be clarified to Ms. Mngoma that the issues that she had raised in those meetings, and the second time with the attorney, Ms. Makatini, was the issue of the change in the content of the affidavit. I think it is important to clarify that, Chairperson. Thank you.
I don't know whether you have got the affidavit that Mr. Mabek is going through. Yeah, because in the next section that he will be dealing with, it's got the heading Security Concerns of Ms. Mngoma. And when it deals with security concerns, it goes back to January. So
Yes, if I may,
I think it's going to deal with everything.
Yeah, well, I think my learned friend's point is about the meeting of the 8th of April.
Yes.
What this paragraph says is that Ms. Mngoma at 12 didn't raise concerns about the content of her affidavit at the Saturday meeting. On the 8th of April, she did raise concerns, and yes, we are going to come to that. Mr. Sekile doesn't deal with it here. But I'm going to take her, just to allay my learned friend's fears, I'm going to take her back to her affidavit when I've completed this one.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Then at paragraph 14, on both days, this is on the 20th and the 21st of January, on both days, Ms. Mngoma was offered security if she felt that her life was in danger. Would you confirm that?
In the beginning, they asked me, do I need a security? And then I said no, because there was nothing that will make me want a security. When I wanted the security, I told them when I needed it, and they said they would contact me, and they didn't.
So let's go through the chronology, because you seem to be agreeing with what Mr. Masuku says.
Yes.
On 15, paragraph 15, on both those dates, Ms. Mngoma indicated that she was not scared and will continue with the preparation of her main affidavit. That's, I understand what you say.
Yes, I did.
Then he goes on to say, subsequent to the meetings in paragraph 13 above, I had a number of telephonic interactions with Ms. Mngoma regarding threats she had received via her telephone and in person. You confirm that? I immediately took up these matters with the Commission's head of security. On 10 March 2021, I held a discussion with Ms. Mngoma following additional threats she had received, and I also reminded her that the Commission is awaiting for her to elect a security arrangement that she requires so that the arrangements can be actioned. Would you confirm that?
So I can confirm, but the way he's putting it, that's not the way he put it on to me.
All right. But you confirm the paragraph?
I confirmed the paragraph, but it was the security was going to contact me, not the other way around.
The security would contact you?
Yeah, that's what he said. He said he's going to talk to his head of security, and the head of security will call me, and the head of security didn't call me.
Well, you see what he says. He was waiting for you to elect a security arrangement.
So which means there was a miscommunication then. Also, how I was going to contact the head of security, because I didn't have their numbers and I don't even know them.
You weren't going to contact the head of security, you're going to contact him.
But I called him.
All right. Well, as you say, there must be some kind of miscommunication.
On the issue of security arrangement, what was your understanding? He talks about he says the Commission was waiting for you to elect a security arrangement. What was your understanding about the security arrangement, if you had any understanding?
So my own understanding, so Sakila said to me, I'm going to talk to the head of security. I will hear what they can provide, because we do provide security. So based on what is happening, they will lead us what do we need to do. It's either it's a place of safety or they give me the bodyguard. So it was most of that. And then he said he will come back to me, and he didn't come back to me. So I was waiting for him to come back to me. What did the head of security say?
Okay.
All right, and then at paragraph 19, on 20 March, a meeting was arranged with Ms. Mngoma in the presence of Advocate Ngitobi, at which the Commission's head of security took her through various security options available to her. The meeting concluded with informing Ms. Mngoma that she needs to contact me once she has decided on a security arrangement. Did you have this meeting on the 20th of March with Advocate Ngitobi and the head of security?
Yes, we did.
So that's the Saturday meeting?
Yes, he was there also. But also still the same. In the meeting, Tembega raised those concerns, I raised the concern as well, and the head of the security was there. Then they said they will contact me how everything will be structured, and they didn't contact me. So I'm not sure where the miscommunication was, because for me, I was waiting for them to tell me, because even on the meeting, no one gave me the number of this head of security to contact them.
Yes, but Ms. Mngoma, look at what it says at 19.
What it says?
The meeting concluded with informing Ms. Mngoma that she needs to contact me, not the head of security, once she has decided on the security arrangement. That's what Mr. Masuku says, that you should contact him, not the head of security.
But in the meeting, the head of security was there. They said to me, here's the guy who deals with the security, and they explained two ways of the security, how the security is being offered to witnesses. And then they said they will contact me, then we will discuss which one is good for me, because we didn't agree on the meeting which one is good for me, in terms of I'm going to a place of safety or they're giving me the bodyguard. So I was waiting for their call, when they're done, that what are we doing? So it was not like I was supposed to contact them.
At paragraph 20, on the 8th of April, a further meeting between the Commission and Ms. Mngoma and her legal representative, Ms. Makatini, occurred. At the end of these meetings, I again advised Ms. Mngoma that the Commission is still awaiting for her to advise on which security option she chooses, and she informed me that she will get back to me. What do you say about that?
So that was after I appeared at the Commission. My lawyer called me. He said, Sakile called. He was asking, do I still want the security? Which I said, because I already appeared at the Commission, so I don't need the security.
So the 8th of April was before you appeared before the Commission.
What happened before I appeared?
Mr. Masugu says this was on the 8th of April. There was a meeting, he says, between the Commission and yourself and your legal representative at the time, Ms. Twali Makatini. He says there was a meeting. He says at the end of that meeting, he again advised you that the Commission was still waiting for you to advise on which security option you were choosing. And he says you informed him that you would get back to him.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember that kind of conversation that I would get back to Sakile about this issue.
I beg your pardon?
I don't remember that part. Maybe my lawyer does, I don't.
Okay. You don't remember meeting on the 8th of April?
I remember the meeting, but I don't remember the meeting.
Part of the discussion?
Yes, like, I don't remember that.
Okay.
Then it says Ms. Mngoma appeared at the Commission on 26 April, and up to such date, Ms. Mngoma had not advised me of the security option she wanted.
I'm not sure where the Commission was waiting for me to advise on that, because for me, I was waiting for the Commission. So they were waiting for me, I was waiting for them.
But can I just ask you something, Ms. Mngoma? 26 April, was that the evening that you gave evidence, remember, late into the night?
Say that again.
26 April, was that the evening that you gave evidence late into the night? Remember giving evidence?
Say that again.
On the 26th of April, was that the evening that you gave evidence late into the night?
Yes.
Right. Do you remember that I read into the record my instructions from Mr. Masuku, that he had asked you, put options, that you didn't come back, You remember me putting that on the record?
Yes, but when we're discussing that on the meetings, it was not up to me to come back to them.
Yes, but even after you gave evidence, you still didn't go back to Mr. Masuku. I mean, you then knew what his position was.
What his position was?
That he was waiting for you to come back to him with which option you wanted.
I don't know that they were waiting for me. What I know, they were supposed to call me and tell me.
No, you see, you're misunderstanding me. When you say you didn't know they were waiting for you, that's what I told the DCJ. I placed on record that evening, I had a spreadsheet where I read into the record what Mr. Masuku was saying.
What Mr. Masuku was saying?
He was saying that he asked you to come back to him, that you hadn't come back to him repeatedly.
What is repeatedly? Is it different times where he called me?
Let me put it this way. You remember when you gave evidence for the first time?
Yes.
You did say that, or you expressed concerns, maybe criticism, that the Commission had not taken care of your security concerns. You remember that? And during your evidence, Mr. Mayberg said at some stage he had been informed by Mr. Masugu
Yes.
what the position was as far as Mr. Masugu was concerned.
Yes.
And he said that Mr. Masugu's version was that they were waiting for you to come back to them about which, I think, security option you were choosing. And you did say, if I recall correctly, what you say now, namely that they were supposed to contact you, but he was saying you were the one who was supposed to come back to them. So what Mr. Myberg is putting to you is he wants you to confirm whether you remember that evening he did tell you that Mr. Masugu's version was that they were waiting for you to come back to them about which security arrangement you were choosing, and that they had been asking you to come back to them. That's what he wants you to confirm, whether you remember him saying that to you on that evening.
I remember him asking me that, but there was no way where I knew that I have to tell them which option am I choosing, because I thought the commission was going to call me and say, there's this and this, which one are you choosing? Because every time when there was a threat, because there was a time where I was supposed to come to the commission, and then that time I was receiving a lot of threats. And also I told Sakile about it. So when there was something happening, I used to call Sakile, and Sakile would say, I will go to them, then I'll come back to you. And he hardly come back to me. So I didn't know what I was supposed to do, because if I call him, I said, there's something like this. Then he said, I'm going, then he doesn't come back to me. So I'm not sure how I was supposed to come back to him, because I already told him. So for me, on my side, in my own understanding, I was waiting for someone from the commission to tell me, I received a call from Sakile. He said, we must contact you. Here's what we can offer as the commission. Which one are you choosing? Then I was waiting to choose from there. So I think maybe it was a miscommunication, but this is what I know.
Okay, Mr. Myberg.
Thank you. He then says at paragraph 22 at page 1027.26, I only learned through Ms. Mngoma's supplementary clarification affidavit dated 18 May 2021 that Ms. Mngoma no longer requires security.
Yes, that's true. After I appeared, they called my lawyer, and my lawyer told me that Sakile asked that do I need the security, and the commission wants to offer. Then I said, I don't think I still need it, because I already appeared to the commission.
Then he deals with the leak of your affidavit. At paragraph 23, on 12 March 2021, the commission emailed Ms. Mngoma's one maiden affidavit, which deals with the substance of her evidence in its entirety, to the legal representatives of Mr. Gigaba and Mr. A.J. Gupta. This was done in compliance with Rule 3.3 of the Commission's published rules. The remaining parties who may be implicated by evidence only received extracts of such affidavit attached to Rule 3.3 notices which related to each of them. So I think you do know that the affidavit, the full affidavit, was sent to Mr. Gigaba and Mr. A.J. Gupta, and that caused you some concern, correct?
I, myself and Advocate Tembega, we only knew that they would send it to Malusi, and Tembega told me that. So that my affidavit was sent to AJ. It's me who told Tembega, because I had from someone from the commission who said there are two people who has my affidavit. It's AJ and Mr. Gigaba. And then I told Tembega. Then Tembega was like, Paul didn't tell me that he will give your affidavit to AJ, and why he's giving your affidavit to AJ, because AJ doesn't want to cooperate with the commission. And Tembega raised that on the meeting, why my affidavit was given to AJ Gupta, because both of us were not told. So we only learned about that when my affidavit was already leaked.
But you don't profess to know about the workings of Rule 3.3 of the Commission's rules?
This, Temeka told me about the rule, but based only my affidavit was given to Malusi, and I asked him why, so he explained what Rule 3.3 meant.
At paragraph 24 on 20 March, I was called by Ms. Mngoma when she informed me that she was contacted by the Sunday Times journalist wanting her comments on her one main affidavit which deals with the evidence that Ms. Mngoma submitted to the Commission and which was in the possession of the journalist. I think you've already dealt with
Yes.
that. At 25, I then immediately commenced a process of investigating the source of the leak of Ms. Mngoma's affidavit to the media. The Commission also successfully took steps necessary to prevent the publication of such affidavit that would have been in violation of the regulations governing the Commission. Would you confirm that?
Yes.
I performed various investigation procedures, including obtaining the copy that was in possession of the Sunday Times, and conducted detailed investigations on the Commission's internal processes prior to and up to sending out Ms. Mngoma's main affidavit to implicated parties in compliance with Rule 3.3, and also got assistance from the Commission's Data Forensic Technology Department. Will you accept that?
I don't know. I think it
know.
was his
Fair
investigation.
My final conclusion is that, says Mr. Masuku, is that I'm not able to identify which of the two affidavits mentioned in paragraph 23 above was leaked, as both documents' electronic stamp stroke identifiers are the same. The limited resources of the Commission does not permit conclusive verification. I assume that also falls outside of your knowledge.
Yeah, it's outside of my knowledge.
So, but you understand that last paragraph?
I understand it, but it's shocking because in the meeting they said to me, each and every copy of the affidavit has a mark on. When they will do the investigation, they will know who leaked the affidavit. Because I said to them, I thought it was the Commission who leaked it. And they wanted to know why I thought it's the Commission. So I said I thought it was the Commission because myself and Temeka didn't have the copy. And then we didn't know that AJ has the copy. We thought it was Malusi. And then Temeka raised concerns about Malusi leaking the affidavit because he was like, it doesn't make sense for him. Why would Malusi leak the affidavit? Because he's implicated on the affidavit. And the fact that when I was called by City Press before, not the Sunday Times, when they called me, they said, where is your affidavit? And that time we were still putting together, I didn't even have my affidavit there. And that time it was just the information. We didn't even take an agreement that we are going to the Commission or are you going to use it? So when they called me, so the lady, the journalist said to me, we want your affidavit. Where are you? We can come and take it, the copy. We will bring it back. We do that with the other people. And I told the Commission that the journalist said to me, they have their own people at the Commission who leaked the affidavit. So that was my reason. I thought the Commission leaked my affidavit.
Okay. Mr. Maipers?
Chairperson, I see that it's almost 11:30. Would this be a convenient time perhaps to take a short break? And I can then just see what other questions I have for Ms. Mngoma. I do need to take her to a few paragraphs in a supplementary or correcting affidavit.
Okay. We'll take the tea adjournment now and we will resume at 11:45. We adjourn.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ms. Gigaba, you'll be happy to know that I have only a few questions left for you. You'll be happy to know that I've only got a few questions left for you. All right. Is your microphone on? Can I ask you to go to your supplementary stroke clarifying affidavit? That's at page 1027.8.
Which one is this one?
Yeah. Towards the end of that file again.
What number? 1027.
1027.8. Are you there? Yeah, can you help, please?
Thank you. I'm there.
All right. I just want to deal with one or two of the concerns that you raise here, but perhaps I could just start off by asking you to go to 1027.11 and to paragraph 4. There you say that you submitting this affidavit, you shouldn't be understood to waive any of your rights, but you go on to say, I confirm that some of the concerns expressed therein were also raised by me during my oral testimony and partly addressed by the chairperson. You see that?
No, you said what number?
Paragraph 4 at page 1027.11. I think it's the next page.
Okay.
I think the only point that I make is I don't want to have to rehash things that you expressed in your oral testimony and were, as you say, partly addressed by the chairperson.
Yes.
I mean, amongst those things was, you recall, as you do in this affidavit, complaining about a change in evidence leaders. You'll remember that the chairperson explained to you the circumstances under which that occurred. I don't assume
Yes.
we needn't retraverse that now.
I remember.
And so that was addressed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to then pick up on one or two things. If I can take you to paragraph 2.2, you deal there with the circumstances under which your affidavit was signed. And you will confirm that that was an interaction between you and Advocate Nkatobi SC.
Yes.
And he was at all times, up until you signed your affidavit and even thereafter, for a while, your counsel, correct?
Yes.
If you go to paragraph 2.4, you say that you had raised concerns with the Commission's decision to change evidence leaders. That's we've dealt with. And you go on to say later that through no fault of his own, I wasn't given a proper handover, resulting in you having to rehash consultations I had. And then what I want to deal with is the result of this was that the concerns I originally raised with Pretorius were not known to Myburg. Now, if I can just take you to paragraph 2.5, it seems that the concerns that you say you raised with Mr. Pretorius were more specifically the very fact that the affidavit contained information that I had no independent knowledge of, and as a result created discomfort that I'd addressed with Pretorius SC. Is that correct?
Yes.
So those were the concerns that you say you raised with Mr. Pretorius.
Yes.
Now, I take it that that was before you signed your affidavit. Because we know that after you signed the affidavit, there were two consultations. There was the 20 March, the Saturday, and then the 8th April. So I take it that these concerns you say you raised were before you signed your affidavit.
Yes.
All right. Now, what Mr. Pretorius says is he can't recall this, but what the position was that was adopted by the Commission was that you were represented independently by your own senior counsel. That senior counsel was responsible for settling and finalizing the affidavit, and it was up to him to do so. Can you dispute that that was the position that was adopted by the Commission?
Chair, may I come in briefly?
Yeah.
I would think that the question being raised to the witness would be rather unfair for two reasons. The rules and the provisions and regulations of how the Commission is run, once there are legal representatives representing a particular witness to the Commission, may not in their particular detail be known to the client. And I say this without having to say that Ms. Gigaba would say, well, I knew, I didn't know, to the detriment of Mr. Mugaitobi, whom I believe did what was necessary at the time, and in his consultations with client felt that I'm consulting, I'm assisting the client, and not because he would say to him, the Commission provides a rule what, that this is how I must do it.
Just hang on one sec. Please remind me what the question was, Mr. Bybeck.
Well, what I put to the witness was that the Commission adopted the position, as it does in all of these similar cases, that the witness was independently represented by senior counsel who was tasked with finalizing and settling the affidavit, and ultimately it was for him to do that and effect whatever changes he considered appropriate. That's a simple proposition. And that is how the Commission works, as you know, Chairperson. So I might be unfair in putting that to Ms. Gigaba, but
I'm not sure why it's unfair. Let me now hear what you say. Is there any problem with that?
No, what I was saying was, maybe the fairer way of putting it is to probably inform Ms. Mngoma how this Commission works, rather than to say, this is the position that the Commission takes in dealing with a particular matter. Because my submission would be, she would not know the position that the Commission has taken in dealing with witnesses in particular.
In which case she will say so.
In which case, but Chair, for her to be said, you accept that this is the position that the Commission has taken.
She might say, I don't accept because I don't know, which would be fair, isn't it?
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, okay. Ms. Gigaba.
You really like to call me Ms. Gigaba.
No, well, last time you remember, I asked you whether you preferred Mngoma or Gigaba, and you said either is fine. Okay, I'm going to change now.
Okay.
But I think you probably didn't get time to have your tea. I think we must adjourn and give you a chance to finish your tea, because I don't want you to be drinking tea while you are giving evidence. Let's take a 5 minutes adjournment, and then when we come back, she will be done. We adjourn.
say Miss Ngoma.
Ms. Mngoma, okay, all right. Okay. I think the issue that was raised by Ms. Mngoma's counsel has been clarified. Yes, you want to...
Then I'd move on.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I just want to put to you, let me call you Mngoma as well then, that the commission, when people are represented by independent representatives, the commission respects and values that. Do you understand what I mean? So you get people that come to the commission in different ways. Some people come there and we assist them, but where they are represented externally, then we acknowledge and we respect that representation, and we let those lawyers do their jobs. We appreciate that.
Yes.
So I then only have two other things to deal with. So you raised with Mr. Pretorius, you say that you didn't have independent knowledge of certain things. Can we get to the similar point that you raise in relation to me? If you go to page 127.9, right at the end of the page, you see it says that the result of this was that the concerns that I'd originally raised with Pretorius SC, we know what they are, were not known to Myburg SC, to my detriment. Even when similar concerns were raised with Myburg SC, they were still not dealt with. Now, there you're referring to the consultation on the 8th of April that we had together. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I do remember in particular that table where you set out Mr. Gigaba's
Yes.
various ministerial appointments. You indicated that you didn't have personal knowledge of that. I just want to get you to confirm this. You will agree that at the end of that consultation, I encouraged you to make contact with your counsel with a view to perhaps making certain corrections in your affidavit. You remember that?
Yes.
And did you then do that?
Who was supposed to do the corrections? It's us or was the commission?
No,
because
it
that
was-
information was not put by Tembega, it was put by the commission.
Yeah. So what happened, we talked about your counsel preparing a correcting affidavit. Contact was made with Mr. Nkatobi, and we know that ultimately this affidavit is the correcting affidavit, isn't it?
Yes.
And it in fact corrects a number of things that we discussed at that meeting.
Yes, but remember on that consultation, Tembega was supposed to join us online and he didn't.
No, I appreciate that. And even when your counsel stood up at the beginning of your evidence this session, where she changed dates in
Yes.
relation to the domestic incident, she changed those dates on my advice, wasn't that so? Where I said, if you go and read the judgment, I had concerns about whether your dates were correct.
Yes.
All right. I want to just take you, if I may, to the letter that you attach to your affidavit. And that you find at page 1027.19. If I could take you then to the third page of the letter, and I think this is something we might have dealt with before. 1027.21.
I'm there.
At paragraph 8.3, you say, during the consultation on 8 April, our client pointed out to the evidence leaders that there were certain facts that were not in her personal knowledge. You see that?
Yes.
When these issues were raised with the evidence leading team, the members of our team was accusatorial. You see that?
Yes.
And then you say, well, you felt that that was unfair given the circumstances under which you signed the affidavit. And then the last sentence says, instead, as previously suggested by Advocate Myburg and agreed to by our client, these could have been clarified in a supplementary affidavit. Correct?
Yes.
And ultimately, you produced a supplementary affidavit where all those issues were clarified, or have been. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then just the last question I have is this, and that is, if I could ask you please to go to paragraph 5.2 of your correcting affidavit. That's at page 1027.11.
Okay.
You talk about the fact that paragraph 5.2, the specific position of Ms. Gigaba, who's employed at Transnet, is provided. This information was not within my personal knowledge, and as a result, I can't vouch for it. I have been informed, however, by Advocate September that the information has been the subject of testimony before this commission. I just want to put to you that Advocate September has no recollection of informing you of this.
So what happened on the meeting, I was there with Advocate Sembega, and I told them when we were going through the affidavit that I said to the commission, Kuku works at Transnet, because I remember Malusi said he's going to talk to Gama to give Kuku the job. And I know that she works at Transnet, but I don't know what was her position.
Yes.
And I raised that on the meeting. So I said, this was not my words, the position that he held. And I even said on the meeting, I don't want to be held accountable if Kuku comes back and she says, I'm not the manager, I'm a specialist or something.
Yes.
Because I don't know what role she plays. Then that's Temega raised those concerns. So I don't know who put it there.
Well, I suppose if we need to determine that, who put it there and who gave that information was actually one of the investigators, Mr.
Yes.
Pierre Leonard.
Yes, because it was not me.
Yes.
Because I don't know what the job she does.
That I appreciate, but just so that I understand it, you say that when this issue was raised, Advocate Ngatobi was present. Is that right?
Yes.
I see. And he's the one who finalized and settled your affidavit?
Yes.
Chairperson, that completes our
Yes.
questioning. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Ms. Gigaba, this is the end of the questioning that Mr. Mybeck wanted to do. There has been pending before the commission, Mr. Gigaba, I'm sorry, Ms. Mngoma.
No, it's fine. You can use any words.
What has been pending before the commission is Mr. Gigaba's application for leave to cross-examine you. Subject to one thing that I need to clarify with his counsel, I'm ready to make a decision on Mr. Gigaba's application for leave to cross-examine you.
Okay.
As I understand the position, Mr. Gigaba's legal team had been alerted that after he would have given evidence this morning, they should be ready to cross-examine you if I grant their application sometime this afternoon.
Okay.
But Mr. Mybeck will tell me what the latest is that he knows, and if Mr. Gigaba's legal team is here, they will also tell me. But I just want to check with you. If it was considered that, or let me first ask, you'd have no problem if leave to cross-examine you was granted and you were to be cross-examined sometime today?
But not too late, because according to what happened yesterday,
Yeah.
I didn't have enough sleep.
Oh,
And I'm
okay.
not even okay emotionally, because
Okay.
I'm still stuck on what happened yesterday. So to
Okay.
be here and
No,
wait for
that's fine.
Malusi,
No, that's
it's,
that's fine.
yeah.
Well, I was asking simply because there was the possibility that if for certain reasons it would be convenient that if I grant him leave to cross-examine, his lawyers to cross-examine you, that maybe that should happen immediately after you have finished rather than later, so that when you leave, you are done. But I'm raising simply the question whether you would be ready even for that. But from what you have said, you are not. You prefer for that to happen on another day if it has to happen.
I can. Yeah.
Oh, your counsel wants to say something. Yeah.
If I may,
Okay.
Chair.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe the chronology would help.
The sequence. Yeah.
The sequence, yes, Chair.
Yeah.
So Mr. Gigaba would lead evidence today, after which he makes the application, or rather, Chair would prefer that the application be made first.
Well, the application is with me. I've studied it. As I say, it's subject to one qualification. I'm ready to make a decision, but we are talking if I grant
And Chair, because
application.
I would have wanted maybe, Chair, to also give
some
certain
time.
inputs and suggestions, probably just to say, well, if it is a matter of time, maybe if we can have some little time, maybe 30 minutes to an hour to prepare. But that then determines how far does that kick us out of today's program.
Yeah.
But more particularly, Chair, we would have wanted to probably try and request the Chair to consider in the judgment, and I'm hoping, should the Chair say, yes, I grant the order, that the Chair would at least be kind enough to illustrate the areas upon which Mr. Gigaba is allowed to cross-examine.
Yeah.
And I'm not dictating to the Chair.
I always fix the time to say how much time.
Thank you, Chair. Then my concerns would be sorted if we...
But must I take what you say to be that provided she is not going to have to wait for Mr. Gigaba to finish his evidence, if she is to be cross-examined, the preference would be that it should be before Mr. Gigaba gives evidence?
Indeed, Chairperson.
Is that the preference?
Because I fear that because naturally we would have wanted to be present to deal with Mr. Gigaba's evidence.
Yeah.
What we had done, and the Chair had given us the latitude last time to say, if we feel so, it would be good for us to re-examine Mr. Gigaba, but we felt it is not necessary.
Okay.
Given the information that was elicited by
Yes.
Mr. Maybeck, we are comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when our client gets cross-examined by Mr. Gigaba, it will be important for us to be able, if necessary.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Well, is Mr. Solomon's here?
Mr. Solomon's on the screen.
Oh, okay.
There is Mr.
I
Solomon.
am, Chair. Good morning, or rather, good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon. I don't know whether you have been hearing the conversation for the past 5-7 minutes.
Yes, I have indeed, Chair.
Yes. What is your situation?
Chair, just to try and summarize it briefly, we received some notification approximately a week or so ago from Mr. Mayberg indicating to us, may have been more than a week ago, that he wished Mr. Gigaba to be available to give evidence today. We had arranged for him to start at 9 o'clock. I had explained to Mr. Myberg that I would be available only until 4 o'clock for religious reasons. He indicated to me that that would be accommodated. What he did say is that if you were, Chair, inclined to grant the application for leave to cross-examine Mrs. Gigaba, that would take place after Mr. Gigaba had given evidence. So that's as we understood the position. Then we were a bit taken by surprise by Mrs. Gigaba's reappearance at the commission. I think we were advised, we were given on Wednesday evening the supplementary clarifying affidavit. We didn't receive a notice in terms of Rule 3.3, inviting us to deal with the affidavit. And then I was advised by Mr. Myberg that she would be giving evidence, I think he'd said at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon or thereabouts. So we haven't really had an opportunity to deal with this further affidavit. Also, we noticed towards the end of Mrs. Gigaba's evidence that an affidavit or statement as to the circumstances in which her affidavit came to be prepared and commissioned was put to her. We haven't seen that document. It did not form part of the record that was furnished to us, and that is a document that is quite important. So from our perspective, we are a bit ill-prepared on this latest affidavit. Also, my client is anxious to complete his testimony, and we had hoped that that would happen today. You will recall, Chair, he on the previous occasion, he did wait around for almost an entire week. So
Yes.
Our position is probably preferable for him to give his evidence now and then to stand the cross-examination over. If we do start a cross-examination now, we would still need some time to consult on and confer with our client in respect of the supplementary, and we would need to see this other document that was put to her, that statement. So that's our position, Chair.
Okay. The long and short is that you are ill-prepared for cross-examination should I grant leave to cross-examine today. Ms. Mngoma would prefer to finish everything, if possible, today, but she didn't have enough sleep as well. Let me ask the question that I wanted to ask. Your client, Mr. Solomon, says that his affidavit in support of his application is, I think he says, provisional or something to that effect. It's provisional, it's a provisional response to Ms. Mngoma's affidavit. What does that mean?
Chair, I think at the time there was documentation that we still wanted to see, but I think one can take that response subject to what I've just said about the supplementary, but that response can be taken as adequate for the purposes of the application.
Okay, all right. Well, let me deal with the cross-examination application, and then we can talk. We can talk further. I have read the application that was brought by Mr. Malusi Gigaba. I previously dismissed the application insofar as it related to certain reliefs, but left or deferred the application so far as it related to leave to cross-examine Ms. Mngoma. I've considered the application and I've concluded that I will grant Mr. Gigaba leave to cross-examine Ms. Mngoma. I therefore grant the following order. Mr. Malusi Gigaba is hereby granted leave to cross-examine Ms. Mngoma. That is one. Two, I will determine the duration of the cross-examination on the occasion of the cross-examination or shortly before the cross-examination starts. That's the order. Now, I want to indicate, Mr. Solomons, that I would not be inclined to grant a long time for cross-examination. I will hear what you might have to say then, but when one has regard to the contents of the affidavits of the two parties, one can see that in respect of a lot of affirmations made by Ms. Mngoma, Mr. Gigaba's response is a denial and that it's a fabrication. Of course, there are parts where he elaborates in regard to what he, in regard to his response. I won't be inclined to grant a lot of time, but I will hear what you have to say then, and then we'll take it from there. With regard to today...
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. With regard to today, counsel for Ms. Mngoma has said that if the cross-examination were to proceed today, they would like some time with Ms. Mngoma. I think she said about an hour. I think in all of these circumstances, let's not have the cross-examination today. Another date will have to be arranged. I just want to ask all sides to cooperate. That date might be a Saturday, that date might be a Sunday, that date might be very early in the morning, because we just don't have the time, or very late in the evening. I just ask everybody to understand and cooperate with the Commission in that regard. But it's going to have to be somewhere in the next, before the end of the month. It will have to be somewhere before the end of May, and we are left with 1 week in May. So, Mr. Mybeck, I think that's what should happen. If certain circumstances require that Ms. Mngoma testifies via Zoom, that would be fine. But if a situation permits her to be here and to come, that's fine as well.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. So Mr. Mybeck, it seems to me that's a better way of using our time, because then Mr. Gigaba can take the witness stand as soon as possible after Ms. Mngoma has vacated the witness seat, and we can make quite some progress, particularly because at 4, Mr. Solomons will need to leave. Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's leave it at that. Do you want to say anything?
Indeed, Chair.
Yes.
Well, seeing that we now have the timetable, at least insofar as the possibility of the cross-examination is concerned,
Yeah.
I would, and Chair, I'm not taking you back, but the critical part for us, which you raised, Chair, having examined the affidavit of Mr. Gigaba versus the affidavit filed by Ms. Mngoma, is that indeed, Chair, 70%, if not 80%, and we have done that exercise on a table that we used as assistance from Mr. Mybeck, are in all essence bare denials. And we would want, and Chair, it doesn't matter whether a bare denial is long-winded. At the end of the day, the question becomes, is the response a bare denial to the allegation made? And we say 70 to 80% of the responses or the answers he provides to the allegations are bare denials. And we would want to impress upon the Chair to please consider that.
Yeah, no.
Granting an order as to the limitation or the narrowing down of the scope.
You will be here. You will be here. So
Thank you, Chair.
I'll hear what Mr. Solomons has to say. I'll hear what you have to say.
Thank
and
you
then decide. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, all right. Ms. Mngoma, thank you very much for availing yourself. We are done for today. And you know what has been discussed in terms of what is still to come. But thank you very much for availing yourself once again. You are now excused.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Mybeck, I guess I must just take, your head legal team is also excused if they wish to be excused.
Thank you, Chair. That was the request. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I will, let me take a short adjournment, 10 minutes,
Yes.
for you to be ready for Mr. Gigaba.
Thank you.
We adjourn.